Hi everyone, Teresa Trin with Infinite Joy Financial here. We're really excited for you to get to know Mike Wolf. Mike Wolf is a good friend of ours, and he is a self-made lifestyle freedom entrepreneur. Mike has over 30 years of experience in the real estate investment industry, and he has helped people all around the world learn how to achieve passive income. Mike and his team manages over 1,200 rental properties, and Mike himself owns just a few hundred of them. Mike has been featured on national television, on radio, Sirius XM, and a few print publications, including Yahoo Finance. Mike is the leading authority on real estate investment in the US as well as in Canada. So in this video, you will see Tai-san interviewing Mike. Enjoy!
All right, Mike, welcome to Infinite Joy Financial YouTube channel. I'm so glad and grateful that you are with us today. And how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you for having me. Great to be here, buddy.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, good. First of all, we want to jump in. Could you share with us a little bit about your background and your upbringing, and especially your real estate journey? I think it's been you have been doing real estate for a long time, right?
Before you were born, I was doing real estate. I've been doing real estate for 33 years, actually.
Wow.
And how I got started, I actually really like telling the story of how I got started, because most people think I had this big master plan and I was gonna, had it all mapped out in the beginning, and nothing can be further from the truth. I actually, if we go way back to when I was in grade 12, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated from high school. There's nothing that really lit me up. And my parents were always driving me crazy. Like, Mike, you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. Doctor, that's all I ever heard, doctor, lawyer. And I'm terrified of blood. So doctor, no matter what, was never going to happen. But I saw some of those shows on TV, where the lawyers had the fancy offices and it looked kind of glamorous. And I thought, okay, well, I think I could do that. And so I went to university, got my first degree. And by the time I got my first degree, I had a ton of student loan debt. And I wasn't sleeping that well at night, thinking, okay, I'm going to go now and get my second degree. I'm going to have even more debt. And so I had a friend whose mother was a manager at the phone company. And the phone company back in those days, it was government owned, it was union, paid really well. And so I thought, I'm going to go pay off my student loans. Then I'm going to go back, get my second degree, and then I won't have as much debt. So did that. While I was at the phone company, though, I managed to get a good credit rating and built up a little bit of a down payment, not that much. So I had to be a little creative to do this, but I actually bought my first property to live in. Now, shortly after I did that, my mortgage broker calls me up and goes, "Hey, Mike, if you want, I can get you another mortgage if you want to buy another home." And that was like the most foreign concept to me at that time. I go, "Well, I'm a single guy. Why would I want another home?" And he goes, "Well, you buy it, you put tenants in there, and they pay your mortgage. They, anything over and above the mortgage and the taxes and insurance, you get to keep. And more importantly, 25 years from now, the home is paid off, and that's your retirement." And I go, "Okay, well, that kind of makes sense." So back then, of course, I had no idea what kind of due diligence you should do when you buy real estate. So I just wanted to buy something that was pretty, that was close to where I live, so it was easy to pick up my rent checks. And that was my due diligence. And by the way, don't ever do that as your due diligence. But anyway, so I bought this second property, and then around probably 2 years later, I'm still at the phone company, and the market just takes off. The price, kind of like what's going on right now with COVID, competing offers on everything. Everything's going up so quickly. And I remember thinking to myself, I was at the office thinking to myself, okay, in the last 2 years, I've made this much at working at the phone company, and I made this much in real estate, and I don't even know what I'm doing in real estate. Like, I'd never taken a course, I had zero training, and I was hooked. It's like, okay, well, I'm like, this lawyer thing, that's my parents' dream for me. That's not my dream. Yeah. And so I promptly told my parents I wasn't going to go get my law degree, my second degree. And my mother, I remember her begging me, saying, Mike, get your second degree so you have something to fall back on, then do whatever you want. And I didn't listen. I said, Mom, I've got this. Don't worry, I've got this. And I thought I was God's gift to real estate investing. I thought I knew everything there was to know, when in fact, of course, it was just strictly from luck. I also did another thing that I wouldn't recommend anybody do, and I quit my job because I thought I don't need this job anymore. I know how to win the lottery, and but the thing I didn't realize is, number one, now that I don't have a job, I can't qualify for mortgages anymore. So that made my life a lot tougher. And then the second thing was I didn't really know what I was doing. I got really lucky on the first deal. And you got to remember that first deal was meant to be a long-term hold. It was supposed to be a 25-year hold. That was my retirement. And suddenly I had sold that. And now I had some money to play with, but I didn't really have a strategy to get some cash flow happening. So anyway, to make a long story short, my next property was a disaster. I lost a lot of money on it, but I'd already quit my job at the phone company, so I couldn't go back there. And back then, you got to remember, I'm in my mid-20s. I couldn't tell my mother she was right. It's like that I should have gone and got the second degree. I just could not tell her. I was too proud. And so I never even told her that I lost all this money. And instead, I went and did what I should have done in the first place. And I got a mentor who was already successfully flipping homes, which is a lot different than buying and holding homes, by the way. And if it weren't for that, probably you'd be interviewing me. We'd be talking about law today. But luckily, once I got the mentor, I got on the right path. And I can't say every single deal since then has been perfect, but I've had a lot more wins and losses. And here I am 33 years later, still loving what I do. And so, but that's how I got in. But I love sharing that story because a lot of people come to me, go, Mike, I don't know if of course you can do it. And they think I came out of the womb knowing how to do real estate investing. But I don't know if I'm cut out for it. And it's like, well, I wasn't even trying to do it. And I've done pretty well with it. So the fact that you're even coming to me to talk about it means you have an interest in it. I didn't even have an interest in it. It wasn't even on my radar. So I think anybody can do real estate. If I would recommend, one of my favorite sayings is, you should get the map before you go into the woods. So if I could go back, I would have got the mentor before I made that big mistake. But I'm happy it all worked out, and I'm still loving what I do every single day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And two things, I think, you have the determination, but also the thing is you went out and you seek, counsel and a mentor, right, to really help you through that journey. I wonder, had your mom or your dad tell you to be a dentist? I think you should listen to them, right? Because they rather than a lawyer, right?
Lawyer, yeah. You know what? I would have been I don't think I'm cut out for that. Like I'm like a very non-argumentative person. I'm super chill. Most lawyers are pretty, I mean, it depends on what kind of law you're doing, but in general, it's pretty cutthroat. And just in general, I know I am not really cut out to work in an office environment. I so much love what I'm doing, and it gives me a lot of freedom. As you know, I travel a lot. I'm a nomad, and my real estate's taking me around the world, and I travel a lot of times, nothing to do with work, but I can do my work from anywhere because now I've got teams. And so one of the things I love to teach people, and something I wish I would have figured out earlier, was creating passive income. And passive income is doing something one time, getting paid for it over and over and over again, such as buying a rental property, whether it be a short-term rental for like Airbnb, condo hotel, which is one of the projects I'm working on now, or long-term rentals. They're all great as long as you have other people managing them for you, because that gives you your freedom. And so, but anyway, this is all stuff you live and you learn. I used to be a workaholic at one point, and now I'm a playaholic, and playaholic's 100 times better. So I like to put people on that path.
Awesome. Yeah, my next question is, so through the last 30 plus year of doing real estate investing, what would be your principle, or I would say principle or philosophy that help you become successful?
Well, there's a few, and a lot of my recommendations are more around mindset as opposed to strategy. Okay. So because if you have the wrong mindset, I think Henry Ford said it best. He said, whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And so imagine that you're watching the news every day, and the news is always doom and gloom, especially nowadays. It's like horrible. Well, if you're putting that in your mind, it's going to be very difficult to be successful, because you're allowing all this negativity to surround you. And most people, like, if we go back to when I was in my 20s, everybody said I was going to fail. Like, everybody told me I was crazy, especially my parents, but a lot of my friends too. And one of the things I'll tell you is when somebody says I'm not going to be successful at something, I'm always going to prove them wrong. So they actually did me a favor by doubting me. And ironically, a lot of these people that doubted me are some of my best clients now. But so I think a lot of it is mindset and not listening to all the noise around you, tuning out negativity. Those are some of the most important things. And then after that, of course, after you got the mindset right, well, now you need to learn how to do things properly. And, of course, we've already mentioned it. Get somebody who's already been down that path before you to either show you how to do it or do it for you. But don't try to wing it. Like I said, I got my first deal I was so lucky. And in all honesty, when you're doing a buy and hold, it's pretty hard to go wrong, because in the long term, even if you got the worst deal on the market today, 20 years from now, you're going to look like a genius. People are going to say, oh man, I wish I would have bought 20 years ago like you did, even though you didn't get a particularly great deal. But if you can get a great deal and get the right properties, it will change your life. So number one, just have a positive outlook. Take the time to educate yourself. Surround yourself with people that are doing what you want to achieve, and don't listen to people that tell you can't. If you set your mind to it, I guarantee, and this is what you want to do, I guarantee you can successfully do it. And I'm living proof, because I guarantee you, if you would have known me back in high school, I was like super shy. That's why people didn't think I was going to make it. I was super quiet, very shy. Definitely not somebody who you would picture. Like, you'd never see me on one of those reality TV shows. I'm definitely
TED Talk, right? I think you did some TED Talk as well, and on
TV. It's been an amazing journey. Like I said, this career has got me on the TED stage. I've traveled around the world. I've spoken on stages all over the place. I've got to I got to hang out at the Academy Awards pre-party with a lot of celebrities, and it's just sometimes I have to pinch myself because it's been amazing. I'm just like a real estate investor, and sometimes I don't know how becoming a real estate investor gets you all this stuff that goes with it, but it's been an amazing journey, and I'm far from done. That's all I got to say. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Now, I know that you do also teaching people, doing real estate investing, whether like just a side hustle, very beginners to actually basically create capital. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Your academy, right?
Yeah, so I've got something that I call my wolf pack. Since my last name is Wolf, we call it the wolf pack, and I got my little wolflings in there. And so I actually teach that these are people that actually want to be on the front lines. They want to go find deals. They want to learn how to track down deals that make sense, and they're kind of in the trenches. So I teach them how to go to auctions and pick up properties. I teach them how to do things such as wholesaling and tax liens and deeds. Okay. And some of this to some of your followers might sound like a different language, but these are a bunch of different strategies where you can get properties at discounts, but you have to do the work. And so a lot of people who when they get into real estate investing, they see people that are successful and they think, oh, well, obviously knowing how to do this is a license to print money. Well, knowing how to do it plus taking action is a license to print money. If you don't add that action part. So I always like to tell people, like, none of this is get rich quick, first of all. And number two, it's not for everybody. Like, anybody can do it. But let's say I get a lot of clients that are doctors, dentists, etc., lawyers. I feel bad for them because most of them hate it, which just reinforces that I shouldn't have done it. Anyway, so I'm on the right path. And no offense to any lawyers, because there are people cut out for that. I'm not one of them. Right. But a lot of my clients, for example, if your passion is medicine, for example, you probably shouldn't shut down your practice to go learn how to be a real estate investor if that's still your passion. On the other hand, you're doing a job, you're doing the 9-to-5 grind, and you hate it, and you need something to change. Real estate investing is a very, in my opinion, it's probably the best return on your education investment you could ever get. Like, if you consider, if I would have continued on to law school, I don't even know what that would cost in today's dollars by the time you actually graduate, or med school, or any kind of major degree. It's a lot of money you have to invest in your education. And then when you get out the other side, Like if you're a doctor, you've got all this malpractice insurance. You have a lot of bills. It's a long time before you recoup your investment that that you had to invest to get to where you're at. In real estate investing, if you get a good mentor, you're going to have to pay them once. Maybe you have to pay them for a year or whatnot, but it should pay for itself if you're doing things properly. Most of my students have paid for their training within the first year. Some of them like 3 or 4 months. Like I've got one student, he's 22 years old and he's made over $200,000. He did over 200,000 in deals in like half a year. So
Wow.
Once again, not get rich quick, because that's not a typical result. And I don't want anybody to think that, and he worked hard. That he was 22 years old and he worked really hard. Now he's bought himself his own home. So I'm very proud of my Wolf Pack.
Wow.
So it's possible, but it's something that when people talk about a side hustle, to me, it's like, okay, well, at some point you're gonna get to this point where you're gonna have to make a choice. And so if you love being a doctor and you're doing this as a side hustle, at some point it's going to get overwhelming and you're going to have to say, okay, no, I'm a real estate investor or I'm a doctor. Or you can do what a lot of my doctors do, and they buy passive investments through me where they don't have to do anything and they can still be a doctor, still get all the benefits of owning the real estate, but not have to go to auctions and not have to be on the cold calls and not have to go door knocking. Not that you have to do that anyways that much anymore, because now we have great technology that allows you to shorten the curve to getting deals and eliminates a lot of the steps that back in the day I had to do. You don't have to do a lot of that anymore. But having said that, there are ways to invest that's 100% passive and takes up none of your time. And, a lot of people don't get this, but in addition, there's so many different income streams from real estate. And, one of them is cash flow, one's appreciation, one is mortgage pay down. One of the big ones, though, that a lot of people don't think about is there's a lot of tax benefits, especially if you're holding properties for the long term. So if you look at somebody like Warren Buffett, he openly admits that he pays much less as a percentage than his assistant does. Now, I don't have a clue what his assistant makes, but I do know he's a billionaire, and I'm guessing his assistant probably is not. And so there's a lot of laws that are designed to help the rich get richer and keep more of what they're making. And real estate is, and I'm disclaimer, I'm not an accountant, so confirm this with your accountant, but it's the best way I know of. And that's why so many wealthy people invest in real estate. A lot of them didn't make their money in real estate. Warren Buffett didn't initially make his money in real estate, but he owns a lot of real estate now because his accountant, and he hires the brightest and the best. His accounting team and his legal team tells him that you can pay almost no tax legally by owning real estate. And if you look at somebody like Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, I'm not going to get political at all here, but when he showed his tax return, he paid like, I don't know, $200 or something in taxes, some ridiculously low amount. I didn't look at his tax return, but I can tell you if he owns a lot of real estate, which I know he does, he actually probably did that legally. And so you can do that too. So my advice is to follow what rich people are doing, because they can hire all the best team. And of course, they're in the spotlight, so they're going to do it in most cases legally. So don't get in any gray area. But I can tell you that if you don't own real estate that you're holding, you're probably paying way too much tax, and especially if you're a high income earner. So anyway, I get a lot of, like I said, doctors, lawyers, engineers, high net worth individuals coming to me to buy real estate. They don't want to do the work, but they want it done for them. I help them with that, and they still get all the benefits of owning real estate without having to be experts and do all the work.
Right. Yeah, that is wonderful. And, we can transition into the passive side a little bit of the real estate investing. So I would like for you to share a little bit about your experience on that, turnkey properties. And I think you build a really a large base in Atlanta. Is there any other area, or could you share with me your experience on the Atlanta area?
Yeah, well, I'll share a few different things, because depending on what strategy you want to do, you're going to pick different markets. And so, for example, I love Atlanta for long-term rentals. And one of the great things about Atlanta, especially here in the COVID era, what we're seeing new trends. Things are changing. People are they're moving to different places than they would have had there not been COVID. Now, right now, a lot of people obviously lost their businesses, lost their jobs. A lot of people are reinventing themselves. And so imagine that you live in Manhattan, and before COVID, you had your, studio apartment where you're paying $5,000 a month rent. And even though that's a lot of money, you were also making a lot of money. And so you could afford it. It was sustainable. And now here we are, the business that you were working for shut down. You're no longer employed. You still have that $5,000 rent bill. In addition, I mean, obviously food's super expensive and everything's expensive in Manhattan. And now that lifestyle for you it's not sustainable anymore. And so a lot of people are leaving expensive places and they're going to more affordable places. So that's the number one trend, is people are going to more affordable places. The number two trend is they're going where the jobs are. And so if we look at one of the things I love about Atlanta, the Georgia government is extremely smart in how they attract businesses to open up offices there, especially head offices. Mm-hmm. And they give a lot of tax breaks with the condition that, hey, if you hire this many people, you're only going to pay this much tax. And of course, they know that the more people they hire, that's their tax base. They're going to get their money from the employees. And so it's head office to Coca-Cola and Delta Airlines and Home Depot. Microsoft announced around a year ago that they're bringing 9,000 jobs there. They're making that a hub. Apple's making a big office there. Google, Airbnb, I believe, is putting their head office there. So when you're in a place where there's lots of jobs being created and you own rental properties, well, guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a lot of population moving to that place, putting, it's just simple supply and demand. It puts upward pressure on your rents. So they're going up. And of course, you get that appreciation on your property that's going up. And so that's where you want to invest. You want to invest in the path of progress if you're doing long-term rentals. Now, on the other hand, if you're doing short-term rentals, they usually work best where people like to vacation a lot. And so it's really interesting. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a nomad. I travel literally full time. Today I'm in Florida. Last week I was in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. I spent most of the winter in Mexico. And I can tell you, and I spent most of last winter in Mexico and Costa Rica as well. And I can tell you that compared to pre-COVID, the number of people traveling to Mexico, it's better this year than it was last year, but it's still way down. Like when I go to the pool, it's easy to find a spot. When I go to the beach, it's not empty. Last year it was empty. This year it's not totally empty, but it certainly doesn't look like 2018, 2019. When I go to Orlando and like I look at Disney, the park is like crazy. It's just like nothing ever happened. The restaurants are busy. The stores are busy. It feels like old times there to me. And so if I was looking to do short-term rentals, which is a great strategy in some markets, I love Orlando because it's come back. That's probably my top pick for that. And for people that want to be more involved and hands-on, I like, if you want to do flipping, for example, I like Houston, Texas for that. And Texas has, one of my favorite things is these auctions that are called tax deed auctions. And what a tax deed is, when somebody hasn't paid their property taxes in a number of years, the county puts that home on the auction block because they need it. That's how they keep their hospitals and their police force and their schools open, is using that money. And those auctions, you can get some very lucrative deals if you're willing, once again, to do the work. There's a lot of due diligence that you need to know what you're doing, or you will lose all your money, guaranteed. But if you do know what you're doing, you can get great deals there. And it's a good place to go if you want to flip homes. And so depending on the strategy you want to do, you have to pick the right market to do it in. And if you're looking for passive income, short-term rentals in Florida are awesome. Long-term rentals in Atlanta are awesome. Because once again, just the tax benefits alone, in all honesty, if I made zero on my properties, but just got to keep a lot more of what I make, it'd be worth it for that. But then you add in all these other profit centers that real estate provides, and it's just such a no-brainer. So
yeah, no, that is wonderful because it's give people different option in terms of what they do, what they want to do, like short-term, long-term, or flip, and really the key you mentioned is finding the right spot and right location for that.
Exactly.
That's awesome. Well, very exciting. I know you're busy. We don't want to keep you too long. I know you're gonna hop on the next destination soon. I think before we end, I know you're gonna have an event in April, I believe, right? The 8 to the 10 in April, 8 to 10 in Atlanta.
April 8th to 10th. It's called Cashflow Hacking.
That's
and
awesome.
We're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different ways to create cash flow more easily than what most people know how to do. and how to create passive income streams, and how to get your freedom so that you can do whatever it is you want, whatever lights you up. And, for me, I love to travel. I have 2 grandsons. I love to hang out with them. I do a lot of volunteering. But whatever your freedom may look totally different than mine. You might hate travel. The bottom line is, if you get your time back, where the money comes in effortlessly while you're sleeping, while you're volunteering, while you're hanging out with the family, that's a game changer. Most people don't know how to successfully do it. And I see people working, like, their retirement keeps getting extended because, they lost their job and they're having to rebuild. And it's like very, very sad what I'm seeing. So we're going to teach you some ways to speed that up. And once again, not get rich quick. I don't know how to get rich quick, but I can certainly show you how to build up relatively quickly and build a strong foundation, and then show you how to keep building on top of that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I'm looking forward to that event. That's on our calendar, and so hopefully we can connect there and and then hang out more and talk more.
That'll be great. Looking forward to that.
Well, before we end, actually, I want to share. You share with us a little bit about what do you like to do, what brings you joy, right? And just anything that you want to add and to our audience.
Well, it's funny because that's actually what my TEDx talk was about. It was. I actually, people were expecting you to talk about, real estate or money. And I actually was talking about happiness, joy, and fulfillment. And so my happiness comes from traveling. A lot of people think, oh, I just lie on the beach all day and I'm hanging out on yachts. And that sort of stuff is fun for a short amount of time. If you do that every day, I guarantee you, after a while, it gets to be monotonous. If you love the beach like I do, but you went every single day and just laid on the beach all day and did nothing else, after a while you'd be bored. I have friends that they tried that with golfing because they were so addicted to golfing. And after they did it day after day after day, eventually they got sick of it. But anyway, to me, happiness comes from traveling and hanging out with my grandbabies. I have 2 grandsons, as I mentioned. That lights me up. I love to read. I'm always learning. I'm still going to seminars and I do a lot of personal development. So that brings me happiness and joy. And I find fulfillment comes from making a difference and helping other people. And, after Hurricane Katrina, for example, in New Orleans, I built some teams there, and we did a give back project where we fixed up a bunch of homes from people that got displaced by the storm and brought them back there.
Wow.
And we've also gone to places where they were hit with hurricane. I seem to be attracted to hurricanes for whatever reason, but I've gone to places where they got hit by a hurricane, had no clean drinking water, and raised some money and brought some water filters so they had clean drinking water. That stuff, to me, you can't get that kind of fulfillment with any material thing you can buy, but comes from making a difference in other people's lives. And so that's the stuff that keeps me excited every day and just inspires me to keep doing what I'm doing. But I also, of course, love teaching people how to invest in real estate and showing them the way, because I see so many people that try to do it on their own. And it's if you do it trial and error, like how I started, a lot of people get knocked out of the game too early. And I've had people that come to me and they say, Mike, I used to have 2 rental properties, and after managing them, I was losing so much money and the people were destroying my home. I see so many people have had a bad experience because they didn't really know what they were doing. It's not the real estate's fault. It's how they were managing. They shouldn't even been managing their properties in the first place. That's why there's property managers. So one of the things I'd recommend, just kind of as an aside, is remember why you're getting into this in the first place. If you're getting in to create freedom, then giving yourself more and more jobs like, oh, I'm the property manager. Oh, I'm going to fix it up myself. I'm going to do this. Don't do that. That's the opposite. You're creating more work for yourself, and it's having the opposite effect of what have the real estate work for you. Don't work for the real estate.
Well, that's coming from 30 plus years of experience. Thank you so much, Mike. And your story is inspiring. Especially I like the fact, your experience with Katrina and giving back. And you do have something that you can actually make a huge difference in people's lives. And so that's wonderful. And so looking forward to see you in person soon, and have a wonderful day, and have a wonderful trip or travel, whatever you are going next. And we'll talk to you soon.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to see you in Orlando.
Awesome. Bye-bye.
Thanks, buddy.
So we hope you enjoyed the interview. So if you are a real estate investor, or if you know of anyone who wants to expand their real estate investment portfolio, or if anyone who wants to generate or increase their cash flow, passive cash flow, please feel free to reach out to us or share this video with them. There are several passive real estate investment projects that we would love to share with you and just see how that fits your vision and goals. So here's how you can contact us. You can email us at infinitejoyre@gmail.com, or you can contact Tyson at 281-743-9958. Thank you so much for your time. Thanks for checking out this video. Please feel free to share this video with your friends. Remember to subscribe and like our video, and have a bold and prosperous day. God bless.